When Michael Thompson kicked his pregnant wife out of their home, calling her a liar and an adulterer, he thought he had closed that chapter forever. That was 5 years ago. Then, as he signed the papers to sell his bankrupt company, he heard the sound of a helicopter in the garden. When he saw Jasmine step out with 3 children who looked just like him, his world fell apart. But what she said next destroyed him completely. "Hello, Michael. Your children wanted to meet their father before you ended up in prison." Michael Thompson returned to his Beverly Hills mansion after yet another business dinner that went wrong. At 38, he ran a $15 million software company, but that night he discovered that a partner was betraying him. Alcohol burned his throat and anger clouded his mind. Jasmine was waiting for him in the living room, pale and nervously clutching something in her trembling hands. At 29, she was still the beautiful black woman he had married 4 years earlier, but that night Michael could only see her through the filter of his paranoia. "Michael, we need to talk," she said uncertainly. "I'm pregnant." She showed him the pregnancy test with trembling hands. The doctor said it could be triplets. Michael let out a bitter, cruel laugh. "How can you be pregnant right now, when everything is going wrong? We haven't made love in months when you were always distant, always on the phone, always out with your friends." "Triplets," he said venomously. "The woman who always told me she didn't want children?" The accusation of infidelity came out with a violence he had never shown before. Jasmine cried and defended herself. She tried to explain that she had always been faithful, that those phone calls were doctor's appointments, that those outings were checkups with the doctor. "Liar!" Michael shouted, throwing the glass against the wall. "We haven't made love in months, and now you come to me saying you're pregnant?" But Michael was too drunk and too angry to listen. That night, he kicked her out of the house, calling her a traitor. The last image he had of his wife was her leaving with a suitcase, protecting her belly and whispering through her tears, "They're your children, Michael. They're your children." Michael didn't know that he had just destroyed the most precious thing in his life. Michael's office was almost empty, surrounded by boxes and legal documents. His company was dying on the brink of bankruptcy, and he himself was facing prison for tax evasion. At 43, he looked like he was 60, gray hair, a face marked by alcohol, eyes dulled by loneliness. His lawyer had just given him an ultimatum. "Mr. Thompson, if you don't find $3 million by tomorrow, you'll have to file for bankruptcy. And then there are the tax evasion charges." Selling the mansion would yield a maximum of $1.2 million. It wasn't enough. Prison awaited him like an inevitable sentence. After Jasmine disappeared, Michael tried to find her for months. He had realized too late that she was telling the truth, that he had been deceived, that those mysterious phone calls were actually doctor's appointments. But when he realized his mistake, Jasmine had vanished into thin air. The feeling of guilt began to eat away at him. Alcohol became his only companion. Bad investments multiplied, work was neglected. In 5 years, the empire he had built crumbled piece by piece. As he contemplated his future behind bars, the sound of helicopter blades interrupted his bitter thoughts. A sleek, expensive black helicopter was landing in the company garden. A woman in a white suit, high heels, and perfectly styled hair stepped out of the door. Behind her were 3 identical boys dressed like little princes. Michael's heart stopped when he recognized that face. It was Jasmine, but not the frail, pale woman he remembered. This woman radiated confidence, power, and success. And those 3 children with curly hair and dark eyes were the perfect reflection of him at age 5. His children. The children he refused to acknowledge. Michael ran into the garden, his heart pounding in his chest. Jasmine walked toward the building with confident steps, followed by the 3 children who looked like little soldiers marching. Her eyes were cold as ice when she stopped in front of him. "Jasmine!" Michael shouted, but she looked at him without emotion. "Hello, Michael," she said in an icy voice. "Your children wanted to meet their father before you ended up in prison." She introduced the children with calculated coldness: triplets, Carter, Mason, and Tyler. 4-year-old boys. "A medical oddity," she added sarcastically. The children looked at him with curiosity mixed with suspicion. One of them asked timidly, "Mommy, is he the bad daddy you told us about?" Michael knelt in front of them, trying to hold back the tears. They were identical to him as a child, 3 miniature versions of his face, his eyes, his hair. When he tried to touch them, they instinctively recoiled toward their mother. Jasmine told her story in a voice as sharp as a razor. After being kicked out, she had flown to Atlanta with her sister Denise, the one Michael had always called a failed dreamer. "Do you remember my sister Denise?" she said with a cruel smile. "The one you called a failed dreamer? Well, that failure just invented an app that's worth $800 million today." Denise took Jasmine in when no one else would. What's more, she helped her raise her children and gave her a job at her tech company. Now Jasmine was the marketing director of a multinational corporation and earned more in a month than Michael did in a year at his peak. The helicopter, the expensive clothes, the children dressed like little princes, everything screamed success and power. Michael looked incredulously at this transformation, realizing that the fragile woman he had kicked out had become more powerful than him. If you like this story, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's continue with the video. Jasmine took an envelope out of her expensive handbag. "The company is bankrupt. I'll buy it for $800,000. Take it or leave it." Michael understood that even if he accepted, his debts would remain very high. He would end up in prison anyway. Jasmine's revenge was perfect. She wanted her children to see what happens to men who abandon their families. The children listened silently as their parents discussed their future. Carter, the oldest, asked aloud, "Dad, is it true that you made Mom cry?" Michael confessed his mistake with a broken voice, while the little ones revealed that their mother always cried when they were babies and that they knew their father didn't want them. Jasmine abruptly interrupted the tender moment and told Michael what she had gone through during her first months in the United States. "Do you know what I went through during my first months in Atlanta?" she said in a sharp voice. "I slept on Denise's couch and worked at Walmart for $9 an hour to pay for my doctor's appointments during my pregnancy. I sold my wedding ring to pay the doctor's bills after complications during childbirth. While he was getting drunk and wasting his inheritance, she struggled to survive with 3 babies in a strange city. Forgiveness isn't for sale," she said. "I'm here for justice, not reconciliation." Forgiveness. Jasmine laughed bitterly. "Forgiveness? Ask God. I'm here for justice." Final ultimatum. Jasmine set the final ultimatum. Michael could relinquish parental authority over his children or accept a job as an employee at her company, 1 weekend a month with the kids, every now and then. And the humiliation of working for the ex-wife who had kicked him out of their home. "There's another option," she said after a pause. "You come work for me." The alternative was simple. She would buy the company anyway, he would end up in prison, and she would return to Atlanta with the children. They would never see each other again. For the first time in his life, Michael put his pride aside. "I accept," he said, signing all the documents with trembling hands, transforming himself from CEO to a mere employee of the woman he had betrayed. In a matter of minutes, his fall was complete, but at least he had a chance to continue in his children's lives. Michael started his new life in a small apartment in downtown LA, working 12 hours a day for Jasmine's company. She treated him with professional coldness, never showing any personal emotions. The children returned to Atlanta, but Michael managed to talk to them via video call twice a week. Slowly, father and children began to get to know each other. During one call, Mason said, "Dad, Mom said you were bad before, but now you're getting better." Michael worked silently, knowing that this was his punishment, but also his only chance at redemption. He quit drinking completely, started seeing a psychologist, and volunteered at a center for separated parents. After 8 months of impeccable work, Jasmine called him into her office. "The results are acceptable," she admitted, without taking her eyes off the documents. "The kids always ask about you," she said in a neutral voice. Carter drew a dinosaur for his dad. Mason learned to play Happy Birthday on the piano. Tyler lost his first tooth and asked if the tooth fairy exists in California too. Michael asked when his punishment would end, when he could truly be a father to his children. Jasmine looked him in the eyes for the first time in months. "I don't hate you anymore," she said. "Hate is too strong a feeling for someone who means nothing to me now. I just feel indifference." But she explained that he could build something again. Respect had to be earned, that he had truly changed, not for 6 months or a year, but forever. "You can build something new," she said. "Respect for your children and for me. But you have to prove that you've really changed." That night, Michael made the decision that he would change everything. 2 years later, in December 2026, Michael was waiting at LAX with his heart in his throat. Jasmine and the kids were arriving to spend Christmas in California for the first time in 7 years. The triplets, now 6.5, ran toward him shouting, "Dad." He hugged them all together, finally feeling like he was truly their father. Jasmine followed with a different expression. The icy coldness was gone, replaced by something that felt like peace. Michael had prepared everything meticulously, a new house in Pasadena with a garden and 3 identical bedrooms for the children, filled with toys and everything they had asked for in video calls over the past 2 years. He had worked tirelessly, even getting a promotion that made him director of the West Coast office. "Dad, this house is beautiful," Tyler exclaimed, running through the rooms. "And the garden is huge," added Mason, imagining himself playing basketball. Carter, always the most thoughtful, approached Michael. "Dad, do you live here alone now?" "Yes, little one, but I hope I won't be alone for long." The next few days were the most beautiful Michael had ever experienced. He took the children to see Los Angeles, visited the Griffith Observatory and the Staples Center. He watched them laugh and play, and every moment seemed like a miracle to him. During those 2 years, he had transformed his life. He stopped drinking completely, started therapy, and worked hard to earn Jasmine's respect. "You know what I've realized over the years," he said to Jasmine one evening as they watched the children playing in the garden. "Tell me that you've really changed. You're not pretending, you're not playing a role. You've become the man you should have been from the beginning." Michael felt his heart race. "It was the only way I could live with myself." On the evening of the 5th day, after Michael and Jasmine had put the children to bed, they sat down in the living room and he confessed that he still loved her. She admitted that forgiveness was a process, not an instant decision. "Michael, we'll never be the couple we were before," she said softly. "That couple died 7 years ago. But maybe we can become something different, something stronger." Jasmine had made an important decision. The company wanted to open its headquarters on the West Coast in Los Angeles. She and the children would be moving to California permanently. "The children and I are moving here permanently," she announced. "The children need their father, and I need to see if we can be a family again." Michael looked at her in disbelief. "The conditions are clear," she continued. "You must never hurt our children again. At the slightest mistake, I'm gone. When we're ready, we'll do it right." "When we're ready, we'll do things right," he said, moving closer. "New wedding, new vows, new promises." Michael kissed her gently. "I'll never let you down again." When the children found them hugging each other the next morning, Carter asked, "So now we can be a real family?" "Yes, little ones," Michael and Jasmine said together. "Now we're a family again. For real." The following months were slow but steady rebuilding. Jasmine moved to Los Angeles with her children and bought a house near Michael's. They didn't live together, but they had dinner together every night and always spent weekends as a family. Michael showed every day that he had changed, not just as a father, but as a man. He helped the children with their homework, took them to school, and attended their games. Jasmine watched him and saw sincerity in his every gesture. Tyler told him every night, "Dad, you're the best dad in the world." "Thanks, little one, but I'm just trying to make up for lost time." Months after the move, Michael organized a special dinner. He cooked himself and decorated the house with family photos. At the end of dinner, he knelt in front of Jasmine. "Jasmine," he said with a trembling voice, "I know I don't deserve a second chance. I know I ruined everything 7 years ago. But these past few months have shown me that we can be happy together. Will you marry me again?" The 3 children burst into cheers. "Say yes, Mom. Say yes." "Yes," Jasmine cried. "Yes." They were married again 3 months later in an intimate ceremony with their 3 children as witnesses. Carter, Mason, and Tyler carried the rings, and when the minister asked if they promised to love each other forever, the triplets shouted in unison, "We promise." A year after the wedding, Jasmine announced that they were expecting their 4th child. This time, Michael hugged her, crying with joy, while the triplets danced around the house shouting that they were going to have a little sister. "This time," Michael whispered in Jasmine's ear, "I'll be the perfect father from day one." "I know," she smiled, "because now you're really ready." 2 years later, little Sophia, named after her paternal grandmother, ran around the house followed by her 3 older brothers, who protected her like little guardians. Michael had sold his shares and was completely devoted to his family, while Jasmine ran the company's West Coast office. "Do you know what the most beautiful thing about all this is?" Jasmine said one evening as she watched the 4 children playing in the garden. "Tell me." "Finding out that true love can overcome anything. That forgiveness can heal, can revive a family from the ashes." "And I learned," Michael said, hugging her, "that it's never too late to become the man you should have been from the beginning." Carter, now 9, approached his parents. "Dad, Mom, thank you for teaching us that families can always be mended." "Thank you, little ones," Michael said with tears in his eyes, "for never giving up on believing that Daddy could change." The Thompson family proved that true love always knows how to forgive, that it's never too late to change, and that sometimes second chances are the most beautiful. They turned failure into a miracle, proving that when love is true, it can truly overcome any obstacle. 5 years earlier, Michael had kicked a pregnant woman out of his home out of pride and mistrust. Now, he was a devoted father and a transformed husband, surrounded by the love of a family he almost lost forever. The arrival of the helicopter wasn't just Jasmine's return, it was the beginning of a second chance he didn't know he deserved, but fought every day to earn. On the 5th anniversary of Jasmine's return, as they watched their 4 children playing in the same garden where the helicopter had landed years earlier, Michael said, "Thank you for giving me the chance to be the man our children deserve." "Thank you for becoming that man," Jasmine replied, holding his hand. Carter, watching his parents, said, "Dad, you know we always knew you could change, right?" "What do you mean, son?" "Because family love is stronger than any mistake. Mom taught us that." And in that moment, Michael understood that true redemption wasn't just about changing, it was about being loved unconditionally by those who never gave up on him, even when he gave up on himself. The family that was almost destroyed by pride and mistrust had become stronger through forgiveness and second chances. And the helicopter that brought judgment also brought the opportunity to start over. 10 years after that fateful day when he kicked Jasmine out of the house, Michael Thompson stood in the same garden where the helicopter had landed, but now he was watching a completely different scene. It was Carter, Mason, and Tyler's 10th birthday, and the party was filled with laughter, friends, and family. Jasmine, now 39, ran one of the largest technology companies on the West Coast. Michael, at 48, had become a motivational speaker specializing in second chances and family rebuilding. Together, they had created a foundation to help separated families. "Dad," Tyler approached, now a confident 10-year-old boy, "my teacher asked if you could speak at our school about how families get back together." "Of course, son. It would be an honor." Sophia, now 5, ran up to him. "Daddy, tell me again the story of when Mommy arrived in a helicopter." Michael laughed, picking her up. "Again? You never get tired of that story." "That's because it's a love story," she said with childlike wisdom. That night, after the children were asleep, Michael and Jasmine sat in the same spot where he had confessed his love for her years earlier. "Sometimes I still can't believe we made it this far," Michael said, looking at the family photos on the wall. "You know what impresses me the most?" Jasmine replied, "It's not that you've changed. It's that you allowed yourself to be vulnerable enough to change. And you gave me the space to do that, even when I didn't deserve it." "The kids deserved it," she corrected. "And deep down, I knew the man who made me fall in love was still there, he just needed to be rediscovered." Michael and Jasmine's story went viral when he decided to share it at a TED Talk. The video, From Expulsion to Redemption, How I Rebuilt My Family, had over 20 million views. Hundreds of men sent messages saying that the story inspired them to fight for their families. The foundation they created had already reunited over 500 separated families. "Did you know we got a special letter today?" Jasmine said during Sunday dinner. "From whom?" Mason asked, always curious. "From a man in Texas who kicked his pregnant wife out 2 years ago. He said he watched Dad's video and decided to seek help. They reconciled last week." Carter smiled. "Dad, you're saving other families." "It's not me, son. It's the power of forgiveness and second chances that you taught me." On the 10th anniversary of Helicopter Day, as the family affectionately called it, they organized a special celebration. Denise, Jasmine's sister, came from Atlanta with her own family. "Remember when I said Michael would never change?" Denise laughed during dinner. "I've never been so happy to be wrong." "Thank you for taking care of her when I failed," Michael said, genuinely grateful. Thank you for proving that people can really change, Denise replied. During dessert, Michael stood up to make a toast. 10 years ago, I was a lost man, arrogant and blind to what really mattered. I drove away the most important woman in my life and 3 children I didn't even know existed. He looked at Jasmine with tears in his eyes. You could have destroyed me. You had every right to. Instead, you gave me a chance to rebuild myself. To our children, he raised his glass, who never stopped believing that families can be mended. To forgiveness, Jasmine raised hers. To second chances, the children added in unison. Later that night, as Michael was putting Sophia to bed, she asked him a question that surprised him. Daddy, do you regret sending Mommy away? Michael thought carefully. You know, Sophia, that was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. But if it hadn't happened, I might never have learned to be the father and husband you deserve. So sometimes bad things happen so that good things can happen? Sometimes, sweetheart. But only when people choose to learn and grow. In his last lecture of the year, Michael ended with the words that became his motto. I used to believe that a strong man never apologizes, never admits mistakes, never shows vulnerability. I've discovered that a truly strong man does the exact opposite. My wife taught me that forgiveness isn't forgetting, it's choosing to build something better on the ruins of what was broken. My children taught me that family love has no expiration date. Even when we think we've lost everything, there's always a chance to start over. If this story moved you to tears, if you believe that people can truly change and that family love can overcome any mistake, leave a little heart below. I want to hear from you. Have you ever seen someone completely transform themselves for the love of their family? Do you think everyone deserves a second chance? Tell me your stories of redemption in the comments. If this story touched your heart, like it. If you believe that true love always knows how to forgive, subscribe so you don't miss stories that prove it's never too late to change. Share it with those who need to believe in the power of redemption. Comment, family forever, if you also believe that family love can heal any wound. Remember, no matter how big our mistakes are, true love always has the power to give us a second chance. And sometimes it's the purest and most innocent hearts, those of our children, that show us the way to forgiveness. See you in the next video with another story that will make you believe in the magic of family love. I love you, family of my heart.